people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Ahead of his upcoming fight with unbeaten up-and-comer Moses Itauma, Jermaine Franklin of the United States doesn't want war, keeping an open mind before the Moses Itauma fight. Manchester, England. If he was born 30 years earlier, Jermaine Franklin would have been a staple on USA Tuesday Night Fights or a headline attraction on the heavyweight explosion cards launching so many fighters to stardom around the turn of the century. The 32-year-old Michigan native has the type of clever, slick, pressure-fighting style that time forgot. On January 24th, Jermaine Franklin will travel to the Co-op Live Arena in Manchester, England, to fight the man widely regarded as the heavyweight division's future flag bearer, unbeaten Moses Itauma, 13-0 with 11 KOs. Franklin is expected to provide the 20-year-old with the toughest test of his short but explosive career so far. Proving himself a durable fighter in both fights with Dillian White and Anthony Joshua, two of the bigger punchers in the heavyweight division today, Jermaine went the distance with both. Now, will he go the distance with Moses? I like the 1980s, 1990s guys he told the ring. My favorite heavyweight is Evander Holyfield. I like the old guys, Holyfield, Riddick Bowe. I liked Ali, but hated the rope-a-dope, so I try not to learn too much from Ali, but yeah. I like all the older guys like Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray. I watch a lot of those fights. Coming up closer, I loved Lennox Lewis. I loved that man. He's a savage. And I liked the Klitschkos. Given Franklin is a fan of Holyfield and Bowe, it should come as no surprise that the legendary 1992 undisputed heavyweight title battle between the two rivals is one of his all-time favorite fights. Lots of boxers will tell you that it is their dream to be involved in the type of brutal war that ensures fans will never forget them. Franklin has been involved in long, hard fights before and would be comfortable and confident if he can drag Itauma into a give-and-take battle. He is far too wise and knowledgeable to arrive at Manchester with one game plan, as experience has taught him the need to be adaptable. And that's what he has over Moses Itauma. If nothing else, he has experience, more fights, more rounds in the bank. The edge and power would definitely have to go to Moses. I mean, that kid is scary strong, but the edge and experience, that is what Jermaine brings to the table. More fights, more rounds in the bank, equaling more experience. Franklin will roll forward, but knows he may be able to pose the youngster plenty of problems by showing him looks that he hasn't seen yet, rather than gambling everything on a dangerous all-or-nothing approach. I try not to think too much about it because I have a problem with tunnel vision. I can get too focused on just doing one thing, so try to leave my mind open to be able to adjust in any situation, he said. I don't want to go in there just thinking, yeah, we're going to have a war, or yeah, I'm going to knock you out. I've got to be prepared to box if I've got to, use my feet, or brawl if need be. So just try to keep an open mind and see what's going to come first and how to adjust to it. Surviving the early onslaught, being cautious and being careful, dragging Moses into deep waters would have to be Jermaine Franklin's best bet at victory because Moses has never been 10 rounds before. There's a reason for that. It's because the kid is scary strong. He's got scary power, though oddly enough, he doesn't have the most size of a heavyweight today. So there is a reason why Moses has never been 10 rounds, because nobody lasts that long. In tandem with his power, he's got agility, speed, suddenness, which is a rarity in the heavyweight division today, as the average heavyweight is anywhere in between 6'4" and 6'7", weighing in between 240 to 270. So suddenness is not something you often see, and a bit of it can go a long way. Moses Itauma, because he's not a big kluggy heavyweight, has that suddenness to explode on a guy and get him out of there. Snap on the punches. It's the ones you don't see that do the most damage, and because he has that suddenness, He can hit you with those punches. He can catch you. Will he catch Jermaine? Most people think he will. 8 out of Moses' 13 fights have ended in the first round. 8 of them. 3 of the 13 have ended in the second, and only 2 have gone to the 6th. And that's the most rounds that Moses has had to work in a single boxing match. A scary statistic, but one that might provide some insight in how to beat the unbeaten youngster. If you can survive the early onslaught and drag him into deeper waters, uncharted waters for him, maybe you can beat him. Maybe you can wear him out. If you can get him to the championship rounds, his cardio might fail him because he's never had to box for that long, though of course, you have to make it there too. Which is easier said than done. Wish Jermaine Franklin all the best, though I'd be lying to you if I said that I'm picking him to win. I'm going with Moses to stop him. Maybe this fight lasts a little longer than Moses' other fights, but I do think he's gonna get his man. He's gonna stop Jermaine.
I tried everything. I even took a low percentage. When I was the man, you know what I mean?
Right.
And you got other guys, they gave Joseph Parker 33%. They gave him 1%. They gave me a flat fee. I said, y'all gonna, because they never wanted it.
Right.
They never wanted it to happen, you know, with his promoter and the promoter father. They said they don't care he ever fight me. I was never in his plan because they molded him. When you got a guy and you modifying, you molding him into that, you know, you ain't gonna put him in dangerous fights like that.
Oh, you saying Joshua?
Of course. You're not, and they words are golden. You know what I mean? Words manifest when you put them out. They said they had no interest in me. I was never in their plan to fight. They don't care if they never fight me. And that's what they did.
In the spirit of fairness, Wilder is only fielding the questions that are being asked to him and giving his version of the answer. But of course, his version is a revisionist version because he says that at the time the flat fee offer was made to him, he was the man at the time. Oh, really? The man making less than Anthony Joshua? The man whose highest purse at that time was in the neighborhood of $2.1 million. What was offered to him was 6 times that amount. $12 million from the Luis Ortiz fight, all before he fights Tyson Fury. At the time that this flat fee offer is made to him, Wilder has no history of being a box office star, selling pay-per-views, or doing big gates, so I would say that at that time, $12 million flat was a robust offer. One that he rejected, among several others, while now saying that he did everything he could. He tried everything. Everything but accepting the offers made to him, of which there were several. It wasn't just 1 or 2. It seems that we have to periodically take this stroll down memory lane as to not let the finer details of these negotiations be buried in the annals of time. It was Wilder's demands that prevented that fight from happening, and it was always Wilder's demands that was always the case. Because he wanted more than $12 million, because he wanted a 2-way rematch clause, subsequently wanting 50% of the pot, or no fight. And you have to ask yourself, if the shoe were on the other foot, and Wilder were making what Anthony was making at the time, that if Wilder were the A-side, and AJ asked him for 50%, what do you think would have happened? Not a fight. American exceptionalism is the reason that Deontay Wilder had the audacity to demand half the pot when he was the clear B-side to Anthony at the time, something that people still struggle with. Here today, he was never in a position to ask for half the pot. He wasn't fighting in front of the same size crowds as Anthony or generating the same money, making the same money as Anthony, but he demanded half the pot. So that he can then claim that it was never their intention to make the fight when they made him offer after offer after offer, each one bigger than the last. One bigger than the $50 million that he claims to have offered Anthony? Because a lot of people still lean on that Deontay offered Anthony $50 million. Well, DAZN offered Wilder $100 million, and he turned it down. What the reasoning was, I don't know, since Deontay Wilder himself admitted that he stood to make more boxing Anthony than what he ended up making losing to Tyson Fury. Losing 2 times, which to a lot of people killed the Anthony Joshua fight, and you know that Turki El Sheikh tried to revive it. Upon his entry into the boxing space, don't forget that he tried to make the fight between Wilder and Anthony, and all they had to do was win their respective fights. Anthony won his. Wilder didn't. He lost to Joseph Parker, remember? How come that isn't part of the line of questioning? that Wilder couldn't hold up his end of the bargain. That offer after offer was made. By my count, it had to be about 4 or 5, each one bigger than the last, and every single time it was Wilder that rejected the offers for one reason or another. Whether or not you want to agree with him is besides the point, because he rejected the offers. So when he says that he tried everything, what did he try besides hardballing Matchroom, hardballing DAZN, just to end up losing to Tyson Fury? For less money, according to him. What he won't admit is that he overplayed his hand, as did his team. The Anthony Joshua fight at that time was many times bigger than the Fury fight, but that's the fight that they prioritized. And not because he was on the up and up either. You're talking about a Tyson Fury who was coming off a 2 or 3 year hiatus, looking fat and flabby, and recovering from cocaine addiction and depression. Unimpressive with Sefer Seferi, unimpressive with Francesco Pianetta, and this is the guy that Wilder prioritized over Anthony Joshua, knowing he had no real leverage over him to ask for equal footing. He opted for Tyson Fury instead. See, the short version of the story is that Wilder overplayed his hand, but he's never going to admit that. Matchroom and nobody in that situation, based on the economic standing of both fighters, would have balked and given in to his demands. He's just another American fighter. Matchroom didn't have to, since DAZN intervened. Remember, they offered Wilder $100 million, which he rejected, which he admitted would have got him more money than the Tyson Fury fights that he ended up losing. I saw the people at World Boxing News try to recount these events in their own fashion, their revisionist version of history, but World Boxing News for years now has been a pro-PBC rag. Do you think they're going to hold Deontay Wilder responsible for fucking up what could have been the biggest fight of postmodern times? I believe that Wilder versus Joshua at one point would have and could have been bigger than Maypac. You heard that right. There is a certain mystique to when the big men are fighting, the heavyweights are fighting, 2 unbeaten heavyweights in a transatlantic undisputed title fight that would have brought all the Brits and all the Americans and eyes from around the world in a way that the Fury fight did not. The Fury fight was big in its own right, but not as big as this fight could have been, to the point where it really didn't matter if Wilder won or Joshua won, so much as the fans winning and the fight happening. I believe that boxing was left with a black eye as a result of this fight not coming into fruition, and if you want to know who's responsible for that, it's Deontay and his team more than anyone. But of course, I don't expect a pro-PBC rag like World Boxing News to tell the full version of the story, the whole version, where it's clear as day that he's the one fucked up this fight. The paper trail, he overplayed his hand. The back and forth between the two teams at that times is so well documented that most anyone can find the answers they're looking for with a simple Google search. Everybody covered it. Every boxing periodical, every boxing YouTube channel, every credible one, sound bites, audio, video. I'm not talking about content creators giving their opinions. I'm talking about the interviews and the actual sound bites from the two teams and the fighters, to where anybody looking for the answers to what happened, they'll find them. So why is it that in 2025 going into 2026, this long dead subject is still regarded with this errant mystery, this mystique, as if we all don't know what happened, and what it is they don't want it to be Wilder's fault. They still don't. They didn't then. They don't now. You've often heard me say that scarcity creates value, and Deontay Wilder rose to some popularity at a time where there was a scarcity of American heavyweights. In many ways, there still is. That scarcity is what caused so many in the American boxing media to put Wilder on a pedestal, if for no other reason than he was our only stake in the heavyweight division at the time. He was all we really had. In tandem with a bit of American exceptionalism, thinking that because he's the American heavyweight, he's supposed to get special treatment, the reality is far more mundane. Wilder overplayed his hand with a guy who was worth a lot more money than he was, and that's what killed the fight. You don't get half the pot just because you ask for it. You don't get half the pot just because you're American. Hindsight being 2020, it's clear as day that not only was Anthony Joshua the A-side, to Deontay Wilder then, he's still the A-side to him now. And if there's this resurgence of this specific conversation, it's because of Anthony. It's because Anthony's the one buzzing right now, where most people feel that Wilder is washed up. Then, like now, Wilder only becomes interesting if you attach his name to Anthony's, who was already surging, who was already buzzing, all on his own, just like he is now. Is there a need to do that fight before both fighters call it a career? That depends, because if Anthony Joshua goes in there with Tyson Fury and beats him next year, that kills any need to fight Wilder. Some people don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. There's supposed to be a plan in play to put Deontay Wilder in the ring with Alexander Usyk next year, and if that happens and Usyk beats him and Anthony beats Fury, who the fuck needs the Wilder fight? What else people don't like to hear is that Anthony is already a more accomplished fighter than Deontay Wilder. We already know that he's made and still makes way more money than Wilder, but as a boxer, he's more accomplished. He is a two-time unified heavyweight champion, where Wilder's been around longer than Anthony and never unified anything. You understand that? And you understand that after Wilder lost his title, he never got it back, whereas Anthony, he did, at least once. He's a part of that short list of heavyweights who, after losing a heavyweight title, they got it back at least once, where Deontay can't say that. Here and now, there is no real need to revisit that fight and try to put it together. It's the one that got away, but if it got away, it's Wilder's fault. I don't expect Wilder to admit that, or the people at World Boxing News and the other boxing rags who try to tell a revised version of the story, a revisionist version of history, because they don't want it to be his fault. They don't want the American boxer to be the reason the boxing fans have been deprived of a major fight, but time and time again, that's what we see. If Gervonta Davis never fought Vasyl Lomachenko and never fought Teofimo Lopez or Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson after him, whose fucking fault is that? That's the shit you see in the American boxing scene. 9 times out of 10, if you're talking about American fighters, you're talking about why a fight isn't happening. That's how it goes. And it's no different with Deontay Wilder. If you want to know why him and Anthony never fought, the short answer is he overplayed his hand, making demands he was in no position to make. That's it. And even after all those failed sets of negotiations, when Turkey tried to put the fight together, Anthony held up his end of the bargain, but Wilder didn't, because Wilder lost. There's no mystery, no mystique as to what didn't happen there. Wilder fucked up the fight. Nationalism or sentimentality isn't going to change that. It's all well documented. I believe that if Anthony Joshua goes in there with Tyson Fury next year and beats him, and he might, you know that more than makes up for the Wilder fight not happening. Not that it's Anthony's fault, because it isn't. But if he beats Fury, the Wilder stuff, it's going to matter even less than it matters now, and it doesn't matter much. It's ancient history.